you see your folks less. And so what's that?
Uh, that's going to be a really big transition here in the next 2 weeks is mom and dad heading out. They
Mhm.
haven't gotten to go back in a couple years. So this will be the first time that they're snowbirding. They go, but the West Coast has pretty mild winters and all of the
Mhm.
family out there. Um, so that's what we've been doing every weekend. Everybody's like, where are you? What are you doing? Every single like weeknight or weekend, like when I
Yeah.
have their time has been with them trying to get both houses winterized.
Mhm.
Go, it's I mean, it's the whole deal, It's not just putting the tractor away. You gotta deal with the fuel lines and put the stabilizers in and sprinkle the stuff around the tractor so you don't get mice, and got to check the heat tapes and get all the hoses put away. Like, it's a big thing
Yeah. Yeah.
winterizing here. And so we have to do it for both houses. And the reason that we have to be on the same schedule is because everything needs to be done because I'm not going to have dad. So,
Mhm.
so some of that stuff, like cleaning the gutters out, like I'm not quite tall enough even with one ladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the stuff that, like, man, it's such a blessing to have
Yeah.
our folks around to help do
Mhm.
that stuff. Anyway, so they head out, not next weekend, but the weekend after. And then they're going to
Okay.
be gone for, close to 5 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big disruption to your normal routine and day in and day out way of life to have them that far away.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
you
It was for
how you
sure.
doing with that?
I mean, this is not going to be the first time that they're gone. And it's like, I'll be fine without mom and dad, but
Yeah.
I think more so it's just me and mom are super, super, like, I'm just very, very close with my parents. They're a
Mhm.
huge part of my life. So not having them here, um, I know lots of people, lots and lots and lots of people, but my closest circle is not in Minnesota. It's all,
Yeah.
and so really my fixture here in Minnesota is my folks. So
Yeah.
they're gone. When people have a hard time here, it's definitely in the winter. And for me, it's not just about being by myself. Um, not having them around at like
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, but the seasons change here so dramatically. That's the downside about living here is
Yeah.
it gets pitch black by 5 o'clock and it doesn't get really light outside until almost 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30, 7:45. So we might
Wow.
get, you know, eight, 8.5, 9 hours of daylight if we're lucky. And then it's
Yeah.
dark. And then you couple that with, sub-zero temperatures and you're inside 24/7 in the winter. You know, after the winter, you start feeling like super cooped up.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. I
So
can imagine.
that like adds to that. I think that's why winters here are especially challenging for me. Just
Mhm.
because you feel so claustrophobic.
Yeah. Is
Yeah.
that Are you nervous for how it's gonna impact you with the journey you're on or the commitments that you have?
A little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little. I'm interested to like this will be the I mean, there's a couple ways that I can look at this, and I do every time that they go. The downside is, not having anybody here around the holidays. So I fly solo during that time, and that can be challenging if you've
Are
never done
you are
it.
you gonna go out to them, or are you gonna be at home alone for the holidays?
I'll be here, but I'll go out and visit them like the week before Christmas. So
Okay.
I'll get a little bit of time with them in December.
Okay.
But uh there's two ways that I can look at it. One is that it's a bummer. Two,
Oh, I think I lost you.
There you go.
There we go. Okay, so
Yeah.
2. What
Um,
was number 2? I didn't hear that part.
2, or I could look at it as there's just not going to be the distraction. Mom and dad aren't going to be coming over every other weekend, and
Yeah.
we just won't be doing the same activity. So there's less distraction, so to speak.
Mhm. How do
So,
you how do you combat, like, the way you feel with I mean, number 2 is an active choice. Okay, I can choose to be positive here in this
yeah.
situation and choose to dwell on that, but it doesn't change the hard side of it. So how do you navigate going, "Okay, this is how I really feel, but I'm not gonna choose to dwell on that. I'm gonna dwell on the positive stuff."
Probably just keeping busy,
Mm,
just keeping myself busy. So typically, like around the winter, especially that during the time that they go, is when I do like all the indoor stuff, like all the painting, and
mhm.
there's always something at night to keep me busy so that I'm not thinking about, what a long ass winter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it'll be okay, and it's harder to travel too, because I have my dogs.
Yeah.
That makes it
Yeah,
more
they make it
challenging.
tough.
Yeah, and it's especially hard to find, like, pet sitters, like,
Yeah,
on a holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, that's brutal.
yeah, it really is. And some of those places have gotten crazy.
You
We
know
were trying
what?
to find a place for
Even
Dakota, and they wanted us to come in for an interview, and I was like,
an interview?
"What?" Yeah, my
Wow!
brother found this place for us, like, for he's gonna take his dog too, so it seems like it's the best one that to take him to, most reasonable one to take them to, but you need to take him in for an interview first, and I was like, "What is this?" Like,
I
okay.
passed the interview with my dogs, they're quite lively. But, I checked, and it was gonna cost, like, for the both dogs, it was gonna cost, like, 130, 140 per night. Like, that's like me staying at, like, the Marriott every night. And I'm like, wow. See, that's another
Yeah.
bummer about not having mom and dad here during the winters is because, especially for like seminars, I would
Yeah.
always just drive up there, dump the dogs off, go get on a playground,
Mhm.
not have to worry. And it just changes the dynamics of everything we do, like as a family when they're not here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it'll be an interesting winter for sure.
Yeah.
Do
Man.
I worry? Um, Worry's probably a strong word, but maybe like, yeah. What's a good word instead of worry? Um,
Concerned, just
no.
aware,
I'm aware.
realistic.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes
Mhm.
sense. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. That's huge. But how have the last couple of weeks been? You seemed really excited when we were texting this weekend about tonight.
I am. I like these check-ins. They're good, and well, just seeing my friend.
Yeah.
No, it's been good. It's been the last 4 weeks, I think, have been probably some of the most challenging since this started in terms of like progress. I think Miranda and Carolyn both will tell you, they'll be the first to tell you, hey, if it's a half pound a week, no big deal. And
Mm,
just I agree with that. And I'm wholeheartedly, I get it. It's still excruciating. It's an excruciating speed.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, like, especially with what you had at the beginning of the year with just the dramatic, like, 15 pounds in 1 week? Like, what was the largest drop you had in, like, 1 week earlier this year?
Like 5 to 7, maybe.
5 to 7, okay, I was thinking month, okay. 5 to 7 to go to half, like,
Well,
that's a big roller coaster ride.
and that's what it is all the time. It's all over the board.
Mhm.
1 month it'll be a really good month, and then the next month it'll be a couple pounds, and you're like, yeah. I mean, am I
Yeah.
surprised? No, because I've done this before, and that's what the body does.
Do you ever
And
wanna just throw in the towel when you're looking at that scale? Do you ever just wanna be like, "Oh my gosh, forget this. I'm over it."
sometimes
Yeah.
I don't know if it's really like throwing in the towel as much as it's just like it's a whole lot of effort some weeks for such little, you
Yeah.
know. It's like as a CrossFitter, you go in and you work your butt off and you're working on trying to get like a PR and you work all month and you expect to see that PR. You put in the work. That's what we're
Yeah.
told. Put in the work and you're going to see results.
Yeah.
The thing that I've learned about this, I think from the very beginning, is that results don't always show up the way that we want them to, and certainly not
Mm.
we want them to. Sometimes those results show up in other things. Today actually was a really good example. So I'll tell you a story.
Yeah.
So I had this bike. Me and Dennis and he wanted to get a Trek bike. And he's like, oh, I'm going to save money on gas. This was years ago, right? I'm
Yeah.
going to save money on gas and I'm going to ride my bike everywhere. And I was like, okay. So we went down to this really cool bike shop near my house. And they had this full line of like all these new Treks at the time. And I'll be honest with you, I never had a bike. And I'm looking at these bikes, and this one had like this super cool, like classic brown seat. It was super retro. And I'm like, wow, look at this bike. It's awesome. And at the time, I don't remember what I weighed, but I was well over 400 at the time. But I
Yeah.
thought, you know what? I had just gone through this horrific experience with the pool that I talk about in book number 1. And I was like, there's got to be some other thing that I can do that's going to help me get this weight off. So I was like, I'm going to buy a bike. And
Yeah.
I was super excited about it. I brought it home, literally got on it one time, rode around the block. And it was probably just paranoia, but I kept hearing the bike go creak, 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 making all these weird noises going around the block.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm going to break it. I'm going to break it. So I put it in the shed and I'm like, when I get a little bit of weight off, I'll pull the bike back out.
Yeah.
The bike basically sat in the shed for the last 10 years. And I was out in the shed doing winterization. And I'm looking at the bike and I'm like, you know what? I
Time to get back on the bike.
could probably ride it now without a problem. And here it is. I almost forgot I had it. And then I was just staring at it and I'm like, okay. So I brought it out. Of course, the damn thing is all dusty and it's dirty. It's got cobwebs on it. It's been sitting in the shed for 10 years. So I took it down to the bike shop, got a tune up, got it back today and got to ride it. And I was like, why had I not done this earlier? Because now I'm only going to get like a month's worth of riding over
I was
the
about to
next.
say, it's not gonna be very much time.
No,
But it's something.
it's something. And I was so excited at the idea that I would get to do something other than walking or
Yeah.
for the LSD.
Yeah.
To some degree, like it gets boring some days, like utterly like boring.
Mhm.
Like I want to try and mix it up. So I was stoked.
That's
The bummer
amazing.
is that I'm only going to get maybe 4 weeks.
It
If
kinda
I'm
yeah, yeah. And then the occasional sunny day when it's dry out there, be like,
it,
"I'm gone. Sorry
you know,
guys, canceling this meeting, I gotta go outside."
even in the winter time, like that's the thing about here. I mean, sometimes we get unusual winters, but once that first snow gets on the ground in the fall, it's there
Mhm.
spring. So
Yeah, that's
even
true.
if it's not like horrendous or sub-zero, the roads are still snow covered. And
Yeah.
so
And it just kinda packs down on top
it
of
just
it.
it just packs and it
'Cause
layers and layers.
you don't get the sun. I didn't think about that. Because when I lived in Denver, we would get snow, but it's gone in 2 or 3 days, and so, like, I actually biked everywhere when I was in grad school there, but we had the sun, and that's the only reason why, because it would all evaporate, and you guys don't
We
get
get
that.
sun. In fact, in the wintertime, we get lots of sun here, but it doesn't get warm,
Really?
melted off. Oh yeah.
I did not realize that. I thought it was, like, dark and gray like Ohio
No,
and
no,
Illinois.
no.
Really?
We get tons of clear sunny days, but a
Oh,
lot of
that's
times it's
awesome.
just too cold. It doesn't melt off.
Yeah.
Or it'll start melting for a couple hours when we have daylight, and then it just refreezes.
Mm.
So needless to
Couple
say,
hours later, yeah.
yeah. So needless to say, it's too much of a risk to ride
Yeah.
it in the winter.
Yeah.
So right now it's in the garage and I'll pull it out in the morning. I'm super excited.
I love it. Well, and that
Yeah.
gets to, like, stuff that you talk about all the time is weight cannot be your only measure of success.
No.
Like, you're getting to practice what you preach.
Yes. I get to apply it firsthand. It's pretty gnarly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, I was thinking about that today. I went down a rabbit trail on obesity on Reddit. I
Did
don't
you?
advise it. It's interesting. You could actually probably get some really good content and examples for the course from there. But there was this really cool post that someone posted where he was like, he had lost 90 pounds, but he said, "These are actually a bigger deal to me than the 90 pounds." And he said, "I things I can do today that I couldn't do this day last year, bend down to tie my shoes, stand
Yeah.
in the shower, walk for 30 minutes,
Yep.
stand without needing to lean on something to support my back,
Yep.
run up the stairs."
Yep.
And I was like, "That's a cool list."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, anytime, I mean, I don't know. I've never been in the category where I only had 20 or 30 pounds to lose, but I would imagine each of us could create a win list like that are hundreds of lines long. Well,
Mhm.
all the stuff that we couldn't do at one time. It's all those little tiny fractional things that you probably wouldn't flinch at normally.
Mhm. Mhm.
Shoe. That was a big deal for me this year, is to be able to just bend down and tie my shoe. Sit on the
Mhm.
couch, pull the leg up, and put the shoe on that way.
That's a huge deal, especially with your knees. It's, like, not just the weight loss, but also everything with
No.
your knees and the surgeries and
Yeah.
mm, yeah, that's
Too.
really cool. Ride a bike.
Ride a bike. It's gonna be good.
I love it, I love it. Man,
Uh,
well, how has your relationship with the Lord been?
I would say that's one relationship that's pretty solid, steady.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's still times when I'm like, what the heck? But that's just how this works.
Mm.
And he teaches me patience every single day. Every day. I would say this.
Yeah,
Aside from my family and my folks, that's probably the as solid as it ever has been.
that's really cool. That's really, really cool. Yeah. Do you feel like there's outside of the patience, is there anything else that you've been learning or growing in?
Um, good question. Um, I'm sure there is.
Oh my goodness, I just stumped Athena Perez. I need to sit in this for a minute. I need to wow.
I'm
That
sure
does
there
not
is.
happen, ladies and gentlemen. Athena Perez is never at a loss for words.
Uh, you're right. I'm gonna write this down. I'm sure there is. You got.
It's good. I mean, you've had a lot going on. Like you said, you've had a lot going on the last couple of weeks, and I mean, it, there's the weight loss stall, but then also, I mean, family that just hits on a different level, and that there's just a different heaviness with even though they're coming back in 5 months, but knowing that you're heading into the hardest 5 months and you're not going to have your normal support system there, like that's tough. That's really hard.
It's interesting that you say that because I was on Nicole Acquain's podcast last week, HSN, and we were talking about this very topic, support systems. And I really think that that's what it is. It's not the fact that they're not here. It's just it changes the dynamic of that support system where
Mhm.
you know, at the end of the day, you can always count on that familiarity or
Mhm.
habits and patterns, schedules, agenda. It's always going to be the same. So when
Yeah.
that changes, anytime that there's a big upset in any of that, there's a risk
Mhm.
because it changes your coping mechanisms.
Right.
What's that going to do the first time, something happens and there's nobody around? Like
Mhm.
shit, am I going to go into panic mode? Probably.
But even just the normal, "Who am I gonna hang out with this weekend?" Not just
Yep.
when stuff goes wrong, but just, like,
Anything.
anything, like, "Who am I gonna hang out with this weekend?" Or getting that people interaction. I mean, you work from home
Yeah.
majority of the time, like, you get people interaction some during the week, but yeah.
Um, I'm kind of yeah, I
Yeah.
might have to go to the hill maybe twice a month, maybe.
Mhm.
And that's definitely enough peopling for a while.
That's a different kind of peopling, though. That is a totally different kind of peopling. But, I mean, yeah, it's just are you going to do you think you'll try to find other places for people interaction and building relationships?
I used to do that in the wintertime by going to a different CrossFit gym, like on purpose, just so I could
Mhm.
get that people time. I don't know if I'm going to do that this year or not.
Okay.
I think I've just gotten so used to just doing the workouts independent now, being part of street
Yeah.
park that it doesn't bother me like it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just make
Mhm.
well, that's kind of that's part of the ethos, you just make do with what you have.
Yeah.
And I think this winter is going to be a great example of just making do with what you have at that time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I can tell you that, when I was on my journey, I call it the first half, and the folks left that first winter and they were gone. Again, it was some of the best progress that I had made. And I probably just need to go into it the same way this time. When
Yeah.
there's no distractions, you can do really well.
You can dig in.
You can.
I
So,
mean,
I
like,
mean,
I think that's a choice though, right? Because it's there's also less accountability. And so I think that's amazing testimony of your discipline and your ability to dig in, because that's all self accountability.
um, yeah, I never thought about that, but yeah, I guess it would work like that.
Mhm.
For me, it's more about exposure. When they're here, it's not unusual to go up to the casino for the night and have dinner up there, or
Mhm.
just the normal things you
Yeah.
do around family.
Yeah.
When you're by yourself for that time, it's just not the same.
Yeah. Do you
It'll be good.
think yeah. Have you I can't remember, like, would you potentially, like, look for another church to go to or
No,
no?
I don't think so. I'm really happy with the church that I go to.
Yeah. Okay,
Haven't
I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember if you had one that you were connected to or not.
I do. You know, there's pros and cons with everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, I love the message and I love the pastor and I love all that stuff. The downside about my church, I think, in parts of the country, you would call it like a mega church.
Okay.
The bummer is that you don't get those one-on-one connections that you would maybe in a smaller
Yeah.
church.
Yeah.
I do love the church though. Now, the
Mm.
cool thing about having folks is that they have one of those mega church vibe, but a very small church in a kind of a rural community, but it's the same.
Oh, cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
And mom introduced me to this church up there that I liked going to when she would go. And that was cool. It was something different.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I know that's the battle we have, because we move so much of trying to find a good church,
That's
and
your, yeah.
we we have some, like, kind of non-negotiables around, like, values and, like, what they're preaching from the pulpit, but we're willing to sacrifice, like, how like, powerful the message is each Sunday for the sake of community
Mhm.
and going to a smaller church, and that's just kinda the trade-off that we're like, "Okay, with the season of life we're in and where we're at, like, we just really value community and building community, so we're gonna we prioritize that piece of it,
Mm.
n maybe necessarily over, like, the music and the sermons and that kinda thing, so it's really neat that your parents have found something that has both."
Yeah, it's super cool. It's a cool vibe out there.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think that a town of like, I want to say where they live has 2,000 people, maybe. It's a rural community. And
Yeah.
no, but it's cool. It's like the whole damn town shows up for church, and it's just a cool little
That's
church.
awesome.
Neat. It's really
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were talking with someone recently where their daughter has started going to a church in their rural community as well, and because so many people in that community, it's a farming community, they help each other harvest, they help each other plant, like, they do
Yeah.
so much together. They were like, "You know, we could drive 40 minutes to the closest church, or we can start something here and
Hmm.
really build something here," and, I don't know, it's really neat seeing that kinda community popping up and really doing life together because I think we need more of that in the church of doing that day in and day out life together.
Yeah. I was trying to remember like why I stayed with my church. I think one of the other things that was super cool was they have their services online. So if there was ever like a Sunday where,
Mm.
I didn't feel like getting or going out or the weather here,
Yeah,
it's a predictable thing.
for real.
And when you got to shovel 4 feet of snow outside and it's either church or shoveling, sometimes you take the shoveling.
Oh,
And
that's so much snow. That is so much snow.
I'm not saying it's like that all the time. Normally we don't get
Yeah.
feet of snow, but we can.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Do y'all have small groups at your church?
We do. We do. I tried a couple of the small groups.
Yeah.
I think with those small groups, it's kind of a hit or miss.
Yeah.
Some are great, I'm sure. I'll find one eventually.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah, yeah. It's hard. And sometimes it can be really hard to find a good fit. That's for sure.
Mhm.
That is for sure. But do you get into any, like, interesting other projects during the winter outside of your house?
Hmm. Outside of the house?
Yeah.
I mean, since we started the seminar, the winters, fall and winters are really like the time that we can focus on getting some stuff done. Like this year, well, that's outside the house. That's not outside the house, is it? No.
It's all good, it's all good. I was just curious 'cause I mean, I'm pretty much knew the answer is probably no. But, I mean, you have so many cool things that you're working on with Scaled Nation, it would be hard to fit something else in, and I saw your post this week, you're still making your meals from scratch and crushing it even though we don't get the play-by-play anymore. It's awesome. Proud of you for that.
So,
Yeah.
okay, so here's one thing that I was working on.
Mhm.
Um, there's times where I was like, okay, I haven't ever verbalized this yet, so I'm gonna try. Um, I don't know if there was a particular reason why I kind of stopped everything. It wasn't on purpose, but I do know that there's times when the pressures on social media can just be more of a distraction for me than they're worth. Sometimes
Mhm.
sometimes it really is for me just, putting my head down and trying to focus. And sometimes social media for me can be a huge distraction. And so some of that stuff that I wanted to work on this year is, and I see it a lot, and I didn't want it to be my experience. For instance, trying to figure out how do I word this. Like I don't have to post something for it to be real. Like say I made this
Mhm.
lunch. I don't need to post the picture of my lunch to prove that I made a really gnarly lunch today. I
Yeah.
don't have to post a picture of what my friends and I did last weekend to show that I have friends and that we're out doing things, And I think maybe there was this season of my social media experience where it just kind of allowed me to work on that.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Does that make
Yeah.
sense? What
Yeah.
I'm trying to say?
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Yeah.
don't want the dependency of social media to be that experience. It's great when I can share things, and there's days like today where I'm like, all right, let's let everybody know that I'm not dead. But at the same time, I don't necessarily always like doing the play-by-plays. One, because it's exhausting.
Yeah.
And two, when you have your head and your brain just in other things, it's hard. It's a
Yeah.
distraction.
Well, and you're in the grind right now.
Uh,
This is where it's really getting real. Like, you've had some other hard times throughout this year, but I can hear it in your voice and see it in your face. Like, it's getting real, and you've got
yeah.
2/3 of the year down. You've got a third of the year left. Like, the finish line is there, but you're not there yet. Like, you're still very
No.
much in the middle of the grind, and this is just one of those, it's just real right now, and you're hanging on because 'cause you're getting kicked around.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's nothing bad. Um, for me, definitely one of those things that I've been working on over the last couple weeks is just, I was doing the math and I'm looking at the time that's left for that 1 year. And I'm looking at the timeline and I'm looking at how much there's still to go. And I'm like, shit, we're not
Yeah.
going to be where I wanted to be on that date. This is exactly what we were talking about on our last check-in. And part of that, like I wanted to hit that mark. So it's been very hard knowing that I won't. Now, it doesn't mean that you stop.
Mhm.
Like, no, there's still over a quarter for me because I didn't start till nearing the end of January. So there's still a lot of time for me. And I want to,
Mhm.
utilize that and be as strong as I can to finish this year out. But also knowing it's not going to matter how much effort that you put in, you're not going to be where you want it to be.
Mhm.
That's just the reality of it. So the reality is that it will continue for how long?
Mhm.
In reality, this is forever. This is
Well,
going to go on forever.
and that was what I was about to comment on, is that you're not on some show, you're not on
No,
some big challenge that's 30 days or whatever. Like, this is something where you're like, "No, I've committed to this weight loss being gone for the rest of my life." And so if it takes a little bit longer, like, that's okay, because we're not talking about a yo-yo diet here. We're not trying to fit into a bikini by a certain time. We're not trying to do a photo shoot. We're not trying to do XYZ. Like, this is your life.
no,
This is
yeah,
a lot
that's
bigger than just those kinds of goals. Like, this is your life and the longevity and the quality of your life.
yeah. It's like nothing's going to blow up on January 20th. You know what I mean? There's
Mhm.
nothing's going to happen. It's just at the same time, being in the deficit every day is exhausting,
Yeah.
hard, not always successful.
Yeah.
To some degree, you don't, like you want that part of it to be done. You know, I don't want to do
Yeah.
this for another 6 months after.
Yeah.
It will be whatever it is. And it's the same thing I told Carolyn, when we get there, we'll reset. We'll reset when we get there. But I don't want to think
Mhm.
we're there.
Right, and I think that's good. I mean, people have asked you, "Are you gonna change your goal?" And you've been like, "No, it's
Mm-mm.
gonna stay the goal that it is until the final day, day 365."
Yeah. Well, I'll take it a step further and say the goal doesn't change. The timing may change, but not the goal.
Mhm. Yeah. Right, I get, yeah, yeah, and I guess I meant as far as, like, I think people have asked you, "Oh, should you adjust what you wanna try to lose by the end of
No,
this year?" And it's like
no.
you've been very, very committed to, no. Like, the goal is the goal. The
Yep.
goal is not gonna change overall big picture, but we're also not gonna just change a number on a board
No.
so that I can feel the success when I get there. Like, I wanna know where I was when it comes time for that day.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll stay. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. How What are you doing day in and day out right now that's helping you not veer off course when you're very much in the middle of the grind? Like, how are you staying on course when right now you're feeling the discouragement and the disappointment of knowing of knowing that that's potential. It's not real yet. Like, that reality isn't real yet, right? We're not there in January. But
Um,
knowing that it's a real possibility. How are you staying on course?
no, there's been a couple times where I veered off course, no doubt.
Mhm.
There's been a couple weeks that have not been as successful as they probably could have. Um, Admittedly. Um, but that's life. It ebbs and flows, like
Mhm. Mhm.
guesses vary from week to week. And it's like, well, has there been like 100%? No, Athena's made 1000% solid decision making from day one. No.
Yeah.
Could have made some other decisions. But I mean, we keep saying that over and over, right? Like, this is forever. Like, you're never going to come across these situations ever. You
Yeah.
will.
Yeah. Are there any of those situations that you're willing to share?
Oh, like, I mean, just little things, like, excuse me, somebody was having a barbecue and it's like, well, I could take my own stuff or I could just have what they're having.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, and then you get there and you're like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm going to pay for this later.
Yeah.
This was supposed
Yeah.
to be on the do not touch list. Okay, so one thing I really enjoyed there that day was they had these amazing, marvelous baked beans. Well, beans were supposed to be part of like above the line this year.
Mhm.
I mean, are they terrible? No, but I'm still getting a
Yeah.
lot more calories in that day. It's like there hasn't been anything so crazy that it was like
Yeah.
that I would be about. But no,
It
it's
wasn't some, like, big binge. It wasn't, like,
no.
some big, like, off the rails kinda thing. It was just, like, this one choice here was not in alignment with the above the line, below the line protocol.
Yes, but if you do enough of those during the week, you don't lose anything. Was
Right.
there anything dramatic in like a week that I hadn't done so well that was like, "Oh, I knew it was gonna send me over the top"? Not really, but
Mhm.
if you do enough of those choices a week, you're like, we're all going out. Mom and dad come over. They wanna go to this Chinese buffet that we always go to. Now I walk into that Chinese buffet with the best of intentions, and I'm like, they have chicken and they have fish and they have
Mhm, mhm.
all the things.
Yeah.
But I decided to have some of this crab bake. Well, is
Yeah.
the crab bake terrible? No, but the crab bake has way more calories than I probably had allotted. And there was no way of knowing how many calories I was eating.
So here's a question for you because this is a big debate, right, within diet culture and within the nutrition world of, is it okay to demonize foods, i.e., I think, above the line, below the line? Should you have seasons where you're 100% committed, no deviation? Is it better to have guardrails? Is it better to I have no opinion on this, by the way. This is me asking you genuinely, like,
Yeah.
what is your opinion on that? And especially now having done this for as long as you have with this year, is above the line and below the line realistic? Is it good to have that high standards that when you deviate, you don't completely fall off the wagon? Is it good to have that high standard so you only deviate to here versus if the
Mm,
standard's here, you deviate to here? Does that make sense what I'm asking? And, like, within
it's
all of the dogma, and we talk a lot about the diet dogma, do you think that the plan has been a really good plan for you? Is it a plan that you think other people should follow? do you think that you'll wanna have
Ooh.
recommended changes for the future or advice in the future? Or do you think, "No, like, this has been solid. This way we've done it is solid, and this is why."
Um, that just actually opened up like 6 different topics that I had no idea I was gonna be talking about tonight. So one of the first things when I started this and I was thinking, okay, this could be like a learning journey for a lot of people. I'm going to publicize everything I eat and blah, blah, blah. And for the first couple weeks, that sounded like a really good idea until I would get a bunch of like DMs and like, hey, you didn't post this day and I'm still trying to cook. And I realized that I was like, shit, I have a personal responsibility, I think, that is, even though it sounded like a good idea, I don't want that kind of pressure where somebody is trying to mirror everything I'm doing with this idea that, hey, if Athena does it, it's going to work exactly the same for me. It won't.
Yeah. Well, we
I
also
didn't,
don't know if it works or not until the end of your challenge.
we don't. Um, so I didn't want them mimicking the calorie counts. I didn't want them mimicking the macros because in my heart, I felt like it might not be best for them. And I know there's a lot of people that would say, well, Athena, it's not your responsibility. Well, it was. It was. And so it was like, this is whatever is being prescribed in terms of like nutrition or macros or whatever, that's between me and my coach. And that's where that should stay. Again, I thought it was a great idea until it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that I'm doing this because this is for me. Somebody else is going to have to find like what their body responds to and what's best for them. And I would feel way more comfortable with that. In terms of like, like, is this something that I could do long term? I think the other part of your question depends on somebody's goals. I mean, it really depends on what somebody is trying to do.
Mhm.
Come out of the whacker and say, hey, I want to lose 148 pounds this year. There's shit you're going to have to do. Even if you do everything perfectly, there's no guarantee of that. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's sacrifices and things that you're going to have to do to make that happen. Is it realistic to never have pancakes again on Sunday mornings? Well, why would I not want to have the occasional pancakes on Sunday mornings? You know what I mean? Like, is that a forever? No,
Mhm.
I like pancakes. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
am I going to have pancakes when I get together with the folks and family? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Is that something that I can do every single Saturday on this plan and still reach my goal? No.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting question. I actually saw something in the morning chalk up this week. And in this article, it was a quote from somebody that had said, hey, really, I think the answer is that we need to demonize sugar.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking
Do I agree with that? No. No. Because at the end of the day, like, is it sugar? I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, I think it has more to do with behavior and habits than
Mhm.
sugar. You can
Mhm.
take, and the reason why I say that is because you can take sugar away completely and still abuse really good stuff.
Mhm.
I think it has less to do with sugar than people. I think sugar is a nice crutch for people,
Mhm.
but do I think sugar is the problem? No.
Mm. Mhm.
You can demonize anything, I guess. I mean, if keto works and somebody's going to lose weight, keto, or you can take any kind of plan that you want
Yeah.
and you can eliminate things.
Yeah.
Do I think it's realistic for people to eliminate like strawberries and berries and fruits, and
Mhm.
why?
Yeah. Well, I think you're getting into the difference between there's therapeutic nutrition, right? where you do certain strategies for therapies to heal the body, but that's different than just day in and day out life choices people might decide to make. Why they have a sugar addiction? Is there something else going on? And you're really big on understanding underlying drivers that have nothing to do with the food. It'd be
Maybe
relevant here.
I would never want to get to a point in my life where I'm afraid to eat a banana. You know what I mean? Like, let's not get stupid.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another layer of it is, are you demonizing refined sugars or are you demonizing fruit? Yeah,
I guess it just depends on what we mean when we say we need to demonize sugar. Are we talking
sugar.
about a strawberry or are we talking about a Snicker bar?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
even then, I would have to agree with some of the feedback that was in that article. Um, if demonizing it worked, we would have a solution, and we don't.
Mhm.
I think it just really depends on that human. The solution is whatever's right for that person, and it could be any combination of things.
Mhm.
Is what they're suggesting probably the quickest route for weight loss? Sure.
Mhm.
Um,
But it goes back to some of the stuff that you talk about with, are you addressing the underlying reasons for why that person gained the weight? Or are you just, okay, for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we're not going to address those things. You're gonna commit to this, but all of the underlying issues are gonna come back at the end of the 8 weeks when you're making your
yeah.
day in and day
I,
out
I mean, at
decisions.
the end of the day, it could be any strict plan.
Yeah.
But yes, to your point, if you're not addressing the reason why somebody's using
Mhm.
crutch, it doesn't matter. I think
Yeah.
one of the comments in there from one of the nutritionists or dietitians was it's not addressing the psychological issues that
Got
that
someone there in the first place.
right, like why does Athena use food as a stress mechanism? Well, I don't know. It was something that I probably learned when I was really, really young, and it stuck.
Well, and we talked about support systems, right? Like, it's easier if the people around you are eating the same way you do, but if the people around you are not eating the same way you are,
Once
it's
again,
it's very
multifactorial.
hard. Yeah. And, like,
There's a
food is also part of celebrations. Food is part of enjoying time with people. Food is a part of
yeah,
all these different cultural aspects, and for you to walk in and be like, "I got my Tupperware." Like, there's other social pressures that can come along with that, judgment that can come along with that. Um, yeah, there's a lot of layers, and I would say too, though, taken to the extreme, then you start flirting with disordered behavior in the opposite, right? Disordered eating in the opposite realm where there's so much fear around foods, you can't just sit down to a meal and eat something in front of you.
true.
Um, and it goes back to what you were talking about, like knowing yourself. And so, like with those times that you've deviated from the plan, I mean, you've assessed, you've gone, all right, like how can I protect myself in the future? What do I do in the future? How do I just own, nope, that was my own stupid decision. I decided to go
Well,
there.
again, like let's take that one particular day and just
Mhm.
use that as a really good example. It's not part of the weight loss plan right now, but would I ever be afraid of having a bowl of baked beans? Probably not.
Mhm.
I mean, would I
Yeah.
ever be afraid of like just cutting up and eating a big bowl of banana slices? No.
Yeah.
It depends on what you're trying to do.
Well, but and then also yeah, there's people out there that if they're on this strict plan, if they were to have made the same choices that you did, have the baked beans, have the Chinese food, because of this rigid adherence and, "Oh my gosh, like, I have to stick to this plan, and the moment that I did, I'm a failure, I can't handle it, the shame, the guilt, all the things that come with it," and it's like, "Ah, F it, I'm just gonna go and do what I want now."
As common as that is, yes. And it's something I totally relate to. Um, I think anything strict, using those words, strict, is going to get you where you want to go. Yeah.
Mhm.
But is living strict like that is it real? And I'm not saying that you need to go out and load yourself full of sugar, like processed sugars, like the cereals and that's not the kind of stuff I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the types of foods that I don't want to be afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
So back to your original question, like, should we demonize things? I mean, I don't know if you're really going to get success with others demonizing anything. I don't care what it is, because so much of it is psychological. So the minute that you demonize anything, there's a psychological effect that even that will have.
Well, and the above the line, the below the line, correct me if I'm wrong. The reason for what went above and what went below had to do with the volume of calories involved in those items. And so beans are low volume, high calorie.
Yes.
Therefore, it doesn't
Lower.
fit because it won't fill you up and it won't give you the feeling of being satiated
Correct.
because of low volume, high calories. Beans
Yes.
are not bad. Beans are not bad. It's the fact that for you with the goal is helping you feel satiated at a lower calorie count.
Mm-hmm.
And the foods that do that were the okay list foods. It wasn't because anything was bad. It's just because
No.
these fit the bill of what you were trying to achieve.
Right. Like nuts, for instance, that was on there. It doesn't mean that nuts are bad.
Yeah.
Is that nuts weren't overly helpful on this goal this year, because yes, very little reward for a high amount of calories. So when you look at like your budget, like your wallet, and you start off every day and you've got a wallet full of cash, how do you want to spend your cash? You can spend your cash 1,000 different ways and still be successful.
Yeah.
For me, it's like I don't want to have to be hungry. And so that worked. You know, the whole thing about like prioritizing protein, is that still the same? Like, yeah, 1,000%.
Yeah.
You find little things that work and what your body responds to and things like that. But I don't know what I don't know. It's hard to say like what would happen like when I get it all done and over with. Are there certain things that I'll probably reintroduce, like beans, rice on occasion? Sure. Potatoes, you know, those are great. I like the occasional white potato. That would be great.
Yeah.
Are they bad? No.
Yeah.
I don't want to be afraid of a potato.
Yeah. Yeah. So, as your friend,
Yeah.
how can I help you over the next 3 weeks?
No, I mean, there's nothing. There's nothing. You know what? I just need to like let it pass and just, you know, part of me like wants to like, you know, like that, stretch out that time as far as I can. And then another part of me just wants them to leave tomorrow, get it over with. Golly, it's going to be exhausting.
Yeah.
Nothing. You've always been there.
Yeah. Okay.
One day it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I personally believe that this winter is going to be some of the best unimpeded head down time of this whole year.
Yeah.
I'm
What
just going to look at this as an opportunity.
Yeah. You outlined in your first book a lot of the habits that you used. I think during that time when you're talking about the first time you did your head down during the winter, right? Like you had a very regimented morning. Do you still do that regimented morning?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Let me see. What is the regimented morning? It was based on Hal Allred. Hal, is that his last name? It was called the Miracle Morning. And so you structure it. Actually, Carolyn was really big on having like routines, like your morning routine, nightly routine. She's really big on that too. Miracle Morning is, making time to like do grateful and talk to God. And I still do that every day, or
Mhm.
almost every day. Some days I forget. Um, just doing like those little things in the morning, like sitting down and like setting like, here's my most important task that I need to get done today. And I always pull out like, here's the top 3. Success today looks like this, and this, ticked
Mm.
off, check, check, check. Getting the workout done in the morning, getting like trying to go out and get some of that LSD kicked out like in that morning. So
Mm.
on my calendar, I'll show you. So the beginning of every day kind of looks like this block. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
2 block. So every single day has a block where I can't calendar anything during that
Wow.
time to make sure that, and the same thing, if you scroll down and you look at like nighttime, right? That
Mm.
bar right here is when those specific things have to get checked off. Because if I don't set that time to get all those tasks done that you do every single day, could be something stupid like drinking your water or taking your vitamins or whatever it is that you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those times are blocked off on the calendar, so I don't put anything there. The alarm goes off just like it would if I had some other task or appointment, and it's telling me like, hey, Athena, you have your like morning shit to do. And I even like write myself little notes. 5 minutes later, there's a reminder coming to me because I know myself so well.
That's so good. That's
Get
so
off the
good.
freaking phone or whatever, get up, put your coffee down, and go start your walk or whatever that looks like, because I
Yeah.
know me.
Yeah.
Like,
That's so good. That's so
sending
good.
myself little curse notes, like
Yeah.
but those routines established. I had always had the morning one. Carolyn was the one that convinced me to do the night one, and I'm so glad that I did.
Mm. That's cool.
It forces me to like wind down, like taking that last hour. For me, it starts at 8:30. And during that hour, I'm like going out to the box and writing like what tomorrow's workout's going to be, have it all written out on the board, get everything out there that I need, pulling the workout clothes, setting them aside, pulling out the clothes I'm going to wear so that I go from the workout to the shower to my clothes. Everything is laid out, ready to go. And then I'll have like a cup of tea. I'll turn off, if there's TV going, I'll turn the TV off, and then I play music, listen to music, play with the dogs, like all these little things that I do every night. And so it's gotten to the point where as soon as that TV goes off, because a lot of times I'll just have it on for like background noise,
Yeah.
TV comes off, and then all of a sudden the dogs are like, like they know what's
Yeah.
about to happen. And it's cool to be able to see like even habits with your animals, like it's predictive. You do it so
Mhm.
many times that even they know what it means.
Mhm.
It's cool.
That's really cool. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really awesome. Mm. Well, can I pray for you?
Yes.
Father, I just thank you so much for Athena. Um, Father, she's been on such a cool journey, not just this year, but you just see your hand throughout her life and the way that you've just been guiding her and you've just been there with her, Father. And um, I just thank you for the way that you've been there for her through the ups and the downs, the good times, the bad times. And you've just been this ever steady presence for her. I just thank you for the way that you've made yourself so real to her. And Father, I just pray that you would continue to make yourself real to her over these next few weeks. And as she's saying goodbye and as she starts to find a new routine and a new normal for the next 5 months, Father, I just pray for relationships and friendships nearby, people that can be there for her as well. People that are going to be a source of life and not a source of drain. And I just pray for more deep community for her. That's physical, that's real, that's around her. I know she has such an amazing support system all around the U.S. and always within reach. But physical is so different than digital still. And so, Father, I just pray for that support system, that you would just raise up a different kind of support system over the next few months. And I just pray that you would continue to encourage her, bring her encouragement as she needs it over the next few weeks. And I just thank you so much for the way that you love her so much. And I just pray that you would continue to draw her closer to you. And it's in your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. You always say the nicest. I was like, oh, Lindsey, your prayers are always so nice. Thank you.
Yeah. I
As
love you,
always,
sister.
I love you.
All right.
I'll be talking to you on Friday.
I can't wait. I'm so excited.
As always.
Yeah. All
I
right. I love you,
you.
sister. Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.